The email arrives at 7:42 p.m. It's after hours. The office is half dark, only the soft reflection of the city bleeding through the glass walls and the low hum of the HVAC echoing against the marble. I'm alone in the conference room, finalizing a contract that no one will remember I stayed late for. The cursor blinks over a signature block. The kind of quiet that feels like both safety and punishment surrounds me. When my phone buzzes, I glance down automatically, expecting another message from a client or an assistant. Instead, it's a forwarded email. Subject line: "So happy for Sophie and Daniel." There's a photo attached. For a moment, I don't open it. I just stare at the name of the sender, my mother, and the thread below, a cascade of cheerful replies from relatives whose names I recognize, but rarely hear from. When I finally tap, the image fills the screen. My sister, Sophie, is standing in front of a floral archway in our parents' backyard, hand raised to show the ring. Behind her, the same garden where we played as children, the lilac bushes I once planted with Dad, the swing we used to fight over. Everything looks luminous, deliberate, as if lit by someone else's happiness. The caption reads, "She said yes, we are so proud of our Sophie. What a perfect day surrounded by family." Surrounded by family. I stare at that phrase until the words blur. No one told me. There's a moment, a quiet, sinking click inside me, when I realize it's not an oversight. There's no possible, "Oh, we forgot to loop you in," that fits. The photos show everyone. Mom, Dad, my Aunt Margaret, even Uncle Neil, who lives 3 states away. Everyone except me. My hand stays steady, though. I put the phone face down on the table, as if covering it could undo the fact of it. Outside the window, the skyline stretches out, cold and glittering, each building alive with its own secret conversations. I can see my reflection faintly in the glass, pale, collected, still. In the reflection, I look exactly like the person they've decided I am. The one who's too busy, too self-contained, too different to invite. I whisper, not for anyone but myself, "Of course." It's not anger, not yet, just recognition. By the time I pack up my things, the office is empty. The city feels both too close and too far, cabs sliding past like silent memories. I walk the 8 blocks home instead of taking a car, the rhythm of my heels steady on the pavement. Every few minutes, I reach for my phone again, then stop. I imagine the group chat, the messages flooding in, the endless emojis, the hearts, the congratulations. And I imagine my name absent, the space where I should have been. At home, I set my briefcase down, hang my coat, pour a glass of water. The apartment is pristine, all clean lines, neutral tones, no clutter. Everything here is exactly where I put it. I've made sure of that. Still, something feels off balance. I walk to the window and look out. Across the street, another apartment glows warm, filled with movement. Someone cooking, laughter echoing faintly through the open pane. My own place is silent, controlled. I unlock my phone again. The photo is still there. Sophie's smile is wide, almost cinematic, her hand resting against Daniel's chest. My parents stand behind her, glowing with the reflected pride of people who believe they've done everything right. I scroll through the thread, reading my mother's words to the relatives. It was a small celebration, just close family. Clara's in New York and so busy with her big cases. We didn't want to bother her. Didn't want to bother me. I laugh softly. It's a small, humorless sound. Then I see it. One of my cousins replied, "Tell Clara we missed her." And my mother's response, polite, clipped, "She sends her love." Except I didn't. That night, I don't sleep much. Instead, I replay old conversations in my head. My mother's voice, careful and curated. My father's easy deflections. Sophie's silences. "You always make things about yourself, Clara. You know how dramatic you can be. We just didn't think you'd want to come all this way for something small." The excuses assemble themselves before I even hear them. At 2 a.m., I sit at my kitchen table, laptop open, a document glowing on the screen. I could lose myself in work. I usually do. But tonight, every line of text feels thin, irrelevant. The truth is simple, unremarkable. They celebrated a new chapter without me. And somehow, that omission feels more deliberate than any insult. There's a part of me that still wants to believe this is just miscommunication. That if I called, my mother would sound shocked, apologetic, would say there was a mix-up. But another, quieter part of me, the part that has learned to live with absence, knows better. I close the laptop. In the silence, the hum of the refrigerator feels like breathing. When morning comes, I make coffee and watch the light shift across the countertop. The city is already awake. Somewhere out there, my family is probably sharing more photos, tagging each other, rewriting the story of who we are. But the thing about truth is that it doesn't disappear just because you edit it out. I take a slow sip, and for the first time I don't rush to fix it. The ache in my chest isn't panic. It's recognition, old and familiar, settling like dust. This time I'm going to let it stay. I wait 2 days before calling. Not because I'm too angry, but because I know what happens when I call too soon. They hear my tone instead of my words. My voice becomes the problem, not the situation. By the second morning, the initial sting has settled into something calmer, a curiosity sharpened by disbelief. I tell myself it's just a conversation, a chance to understand. The phone rings 4 times before my mother answers. "Clara, sweetheart, I was just thinking about you." Her voice is bright, brittle, the tone she uses when there's company in the room. "Hi, Mom," I say. "You're home?" "Oh, yes. It's been so busy here. You saw the news, I suppose?" "The engagement?" A pause. Then a light, practiced laugh. "Yes, wasn't it wonderful?" Sophie was radiant. "You didn't tell me it was happening." She exhales, the kind of sigh that carries performance, a long-suffering patience she's rehearsed all my life. "Clara, it all came together last minute. You're always working, and you know how complicated it is to get everyone here on short notice. You managed to get Uncle Neil to fly in from Chicago. That was different," she says quickly. "He was already planning to visit." I see. There's silence. I let it expand. The sound of her shifting in her chair, maybe pouring tea, maybe just trying to fill the air. "I didn't want to bother you," she says finally. "You have your big projects, your firm, your—" "My life?" "Yes, your life," she replies, almost offended by the word. "I would have come," I say quietly, "if someone had told me." Her voice softens, false sympathy sliding in like a well-worn glove. "Oh, honey, don't take it so personally. It wasn't intentional. You know how dramatic you can get about these things." And there it is, the familiar phrase, the family's secret code for dismissal. You know how dramatic you can get. The moment she says it, something in me settles, like a puzzle clicking into place. "Right," I say. "Of course." "Good," she replies, as if the matter's been resolved. "You'll meet Daniel soon enough. They're planning a dinner next month. You can come then." The afterthought invitation, a consolation prize wrapped in politeness. I tell her I'll check my schedule. When I hang up, the quiet of my apartment feels heavier than before. That afternoon, during lunch, I scroll through my messages. My sister hasn't texted once, not even a line. So I call her. It goes to voicemail. Her recorded voice is cheerful, professional. "Hey, it's Sophie. Leave a message." I wait for the tone, then say, "Congratulations. I saw the photos. You look happy." A beat. I wish someone had told me. I hang up. A minute later, my phone buzzes. A message from Sophie. "Sorry, Clara. It was so last minute. I thought Mom told you. Hope you're not mad. It wasn't that big of a deal anyway." Wasn't that big of a deal? I reread it 3 times. If I were to respond, I know exactly how it would go. I'd write something like, "I'm not mad, just surprised." She'd reply, "You always overthink things." And I'd end up apologizing, just to keep the peace. Instead, I lock my phone. The truth is, I'm not surprised. Not really. This pattern has been forming for years. Small omissions, quiet exclusions, moments where I wasn't invited or was invited too late to actually come. A missing name on a Christmas card, A group photo cropped just before I entered the frame. Little ways of saying, "You don't belong here anymore." That night, I find myself scrolling through old family photos. In one, I'm 12, sitting on the edge of the porch, holding Sophie's hand while she cries about a broken toy. Mom's in the background, laughing at something Dad said, not noticing us. I remember that moment clearly. Sophie had thrown the toy against the wall because it wasn't the color she wanted. I had tried to fix it, gluing the pieces together, getting the sticky residue all over my fingers. Later that evening, Mom thanked Sophie for calming down. She didn't mention me. It was a small thing, just like this. But when you live long enough with small things, they become architecture, invisible walls that shape everything you do. On Thursday, I meet with my colleague Marcus for coffee. He's been my closest friend since grad school, the kind of person who reads the subtext without asking. "You're quiet," he says after a few minutes. "Just family stuff." He raises an eyebrow. "Your family or family?" "The usual kind," I say. "Selective affection." He leans back. "What happened?" I tell him, briefly, clinically, about the engagement, the omission, the phone call. Marcus doesn't interrupt. He just nods, eyes thoughtful. When I finish, he says, "That's cruel. They didn't think so. To them it was logistics." "No," he says softly. "That's emotional strategy. They've taught you to expect so little that exclusion feels normal." I look down at my cup, the steam curling upward, the smell of burnt espresso and almond milk. They've always done this, I admit. Made me feel like I'm too much, too serious, too focused, too distant. It's easier to make me the problem than to look at themselves. "And what do?" I give a small smile. I rationalize. I tell myself they didn't mean it. Marcus studies me. "And do you still believe that?" For the first time, I realize I don't. That evening, I open my laptop and start writing. Not an email, something private. A document titled simply Notes. Inside, I begin listing every moment that felt off. Every conversation where love sounded like correction. Every memory I've edited for comfort. It's not revenge, it's clarity. I'm not even sure why I'm doing it. Maybe to see the pattern outside myself. To make it real. By midnight, I have 10 pages. When I finish, I close the document, sit back and exhale. The city hums below. Quiet, detached. Somewhere my family is probably celebrating again. Maybe planning a dinner I won't attend. But for the first time, that thought doesn't sting. It feels precise. True. The light from my desk lamp spills across the floor, soft and steady. I whisper to the empty room, "I see it now." The following Monday arrives with its usual choreography. The soft click of the elevator, the smell of roasted coffee drifting from reception, the cool hum of air conditioning against glass. But something in me has changed. For the first time in years, I walk into the office not as someone trying to prove her worth, but as someone taking inventory of it. My assistant Nora greets me with a smile. "Morning, Clara. You've got the 10 a.m. review. Then Marcus wanted to check in about the Harborfront project." "Got it," I say, setting my bag down. The desk is immaculate. I've always liked order. But today I notice the small things. A fingerprint on the glass, the faint scrape on my pen's clip. Imperfection feels honest. At 10, we file into the conference room. Light floods through the wall of windows, casting a geometric pattern across the polished table. The others chatter about clients and budgets. I listen, nodding, responding when needed. My phone, face down beside me, vibrates once. A message from Mom. "Can you talk later today? Sophie wants to clear the air." I stare at the screen for a few seconds, then slide the phone into my jacket pocket. Clear the air. Their language is always clean, sanitized. That evening, I drive to my parents' house, the same colonial-style home I grew up in, the same creak on the third step. The porch light flickers. It always has. Dad said he'd fix it years ago. When I step inside, the scent of roasted chicken and rosemary hits me. Comfort food, the kind meant to soften the edges of bad news. Mom appears first, wiping her hands on a towel. "Clara, you made it." Sophie follows, wearing a pale blue dress that makes her look effortless, glowing. She's always had that quality, the kind of beauty that makes people listen before she speaks. "Hey," she says, hesitant. "I didn't think you'd come." "I almost didn't." Her eyes flicker. "Well, I'm glad you did." We sit in the dining room. The table is set, though no one eats. Dad pours wine, filling my glass too full. A peace offering or a distraction. Mom folds her hands. "We wanted to talk. There seems to be tension." I let out a quiet breath. There's not tension. There's truth. Dad shifts in his chair. "Clara, come on. It was an oversight. We didn't mean to leave you out." "I don't believe that anymore," I say calmly. Mom's lips tighten. "Don't start dramatizing this again." I almost laugh. Again. As if my reactions are recycled mistakes. Sophie speaks softly. "It really wasn't about you, Clara. We just wanted something simple, private." "You had 50 guests." "It was family," she says. "I'm family." Silence. The kind that lands like snow. Quiet, heavy, cold. Mom's voice drops. Patient but edged. "We didn't tell you because you always make things complicated. You ask questions, you notice details. It's exhausting." "There it is. The root of it all, I notice." I nod slowly. "So, you wanted an event where no one asked why I wasn't chosen to speak, or why the engagement ring was paid for out of the trust that was meant for both of us." Sophie blinks. "What?" Dad clears his throat. "That's not how." "It's exactly how," I interrupt, still even. "I checked the accounts last week. My name is on every transfer." Their faces shift, not guilt, but irritation, the inconvenience of being caught. Mom presses her napkin flat against the table. "You're misunderstanding." "I'm not," I say. "I just finally stopped rationalizing. For the first time, they look small to me. Not cruel, just human. Flawed people who built a hierarchy out of habit and fear. I'm not here to fight," I say. "I'm here to draw a line." Sophie whispers, "Clara, please don't make this ugly." I turn to her. "I don't have to. It already is." Then softly, "I'm not angry, I'm done." I take the folder from my bag. Clean, labeled, printed. Copies of the account records, the transfers, the legal notice I've already filed. Mom reaches for it, but I keep my hand on top. "I've handled it. The money will be repaid. There's nothing more to discuss." Dad stands abruptly. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I meet his gaze. For once, I'm not minimizing it. A long pause. Then I gather my coat, slide my chair back, and stand. Mom's voice follows me to the door, half pleading, half angry. "You can't just walk away from family." I stop, turn slightly. "I'm not walking away. I'm walking toward myself." The air outside is cold, sharp with the smell of pine. The porch light flickers again as I step off the last stair. In the car, I sit for a minute before starting the engine. My hands tremble, not from fear, but release. Through the windshield, I see their silhouettes moving inside, shapes behind frosted glass, voices rising and falling. They'll rewrite this moment by morning, they always do. But I'll remember it exactly as it was. Quiet, clear, controlled. The beginning of freedom rarely looks like triumph. Sometimes it just looks like leaving a house without turning back. The next morning, the world feels unnaturally still. I wake before the alarm, long before the city starts humming. The apartment is drenched in that gray-blue light that looks almost metallic, like the inside of a seashell. I lie still for a while, watching it shift across the ceiling. My body feels different, lighter, but sore, as though I've been holding my breath for years and finally let it go. I don't check my phone. Not yet. I know what will be there. Unread messages, long paragraphs, emotional negotiations disguised as apologies. Instead, I go to the kitchen. The floor is cold under my feet. I pour water into the kettle and wait for it to boil, listening to the subtle creak of the building settling. When the whistle sounds, it startles me. I pour the tea, add honey, and stand by the window. Outside, people are already moving. Coats buttoned, collars turned up, shoulders hunched against the wind. The world doesn't pause for anyone's reckoning. I think about last night. About how calm my voice sounded, how still my hands were. It wasn't the kind of strength I'd always imagined. No fire, no grand speech. Just precision, clarity. For years, I believed that love meant endurance, that to be good was to stay. Now I understand that leaving can be the truest form of love, not for them, but for myself. The first few days pass in fragments. I work, I eat little, I sleep too much. Sometimes, when I walk into my studio, the air feels thick, as if the arguments followed me home and got trapped in the walls. One night, I sit at my desk with my laptop open, staring at a blank canvas in the design software. The cursor blinks like a pulse. I start sketching shapes, abstract, geometric, instinctive, a series of circles intersecting, breaking apart. It's not for a client. It's for me. When I look at it, it feels like a language I've always known but never spoken. A week later, Nora knocks on my office door. "You okay?" I look up, startled. "Yeah, why?" She hesitates. "You've been quieter than usual." I smile faintly. "I'm fine, just adjusting to silence." She nods but doesn't look convinced. "Well, if you need someone to talk to, I'm around." After she leaves, I realize how rare that kind of sincerity is. No agenda, no pretense, just presence. By the second week, I begin deleting things. Photos, messages, group chats. Every deletion feels like peeling off an old layer of skin. Not painful, just strangely intimate. When I reach my mother's contact, my thumb hesitates over the screen. I don't delete it. I just rename it. Silence. It's not revenge. It's classification. The friend who grounds me most through this time is Aaron, the photographer I've known since college. He's the kind of person who doesn't fill silence with noise. We meet at a small cafe tucked between two bookshops, a place that always smells faintly of espresso and old paper. He spots me first, raises a hand. "Hey, stranger." I smile. "You always say that like I've been gone for years." He shrugs, emotionally maybe. We order coffee and sit by the window. Rain begins to fall, tapping lightly against the glass. "So," he says gently, "you finally told them." "Yeah. And?" I stir the foam on my latte, watching the pattern dissolve. They reacted exactly how I thought they would. "Which is?" "Like I broke the family peace treaty." Aaron leans back. "That treaty was written in your silence. You just stopped signing it." I exhale, half a laugh, half a sigh. "You always make it sound simple." "It is simple," he says. "Not easy, but simple." Outside, a car passes, its reflection rippling through the puddles like liquid glass. For a moment, I feel something close to relief, the kind that arrives not with joy but with understanding. That night, I light a candle in the apartment, a small act of warmth against the dark. I sit by the window again, sketchbook on my lap. The design from earlier has evolved. The circles now form a single open spiral. No end, no center, just movement. I think about how people try to define healing, as if it's a destination. But maybe it's more like this spiral, a path that keeps returning to itself, each turn a little wider, a little clearer. I write a note in the margin. Freedom doesn't feel like victory. It feels like peace. The next morning, the first rays of sunlight touch the floor. Long, slow, deliberate. I stand barefoot in their warmth, eyes closed. For the first time in years, I feel completely alone. And for the first time in years, that doesn't feel like loss. It starts with a single email. Subject line, proposal, independent exhibit. I stare at it for a long time before opening it. It's from a small gallery in the city, one that focuses on contemporary design and visual storytelling. The curator, Mara, writes that she's seen my work online and is interested in discussing a possible collaboration. My first thought is disbelief. My second is, this is what happens when I stop waiting for permission. The meeting is set for Thursday morning. The gallery is in an old converted factory. Red brick, tall windows, a kind of softened industrialism. The air smells faintly of sawdust and paint. Mara greets me at the entrance. Late 30s, sharp eyes, kind smile. "Clara Bennett," she says, shaking my hand. "I've been wanting to meet you." Her voice is warm, but professional. Your work feels contained, but emotional. There's a story under every line. I laugh lightly. That's one way to put it. We walk through the space. The walls are bare for now, awaiting the next exhibition. I imagine my pieces here. Light bending through glass, muted shadows stretching across white walls. So, Mara says, turning toward me, what are you working on now? I hesitate. Something personal, a visual sequence about truth, silence, and redefinition. Her brows lift. That sounds promising. Can I see? I pull out my tablet and show her the spiral piece, the one that's been growing each night in my apartment. Mara studies it for a long time. It feels like movement without chaos. You can almost sense what was lost and what's been found. I don't say anything. I don't need to. She nods slowly. Let's build around this. A full exhibit, maybe 6 to 8 large-scale prints. We'll give it a title later. What do you think? What do I think? I think I haven't felt this alive in years. That night, when I tell Aaron, he grins. Of course, you're finally letting people see you. I shake my head, smiling. It's strange. For so long, I wanted to be understood. Now I just want to be honest. He raises his coffee mug. Honesty looks good on you. The weeks blur into color and sound. Every morning I walk to the studio with purpose. The air is colder now, late autumn settling in, and my breath fogs against the glass doors as I unlock them. I spend hours sketching, printing, layering textures. Each design draws something out of me, fragments of memory, of disappointment, of love that wasn't love. In one piece, overlapping lines form the shape of a broken window, but within it, there's a reflection, calm water, endless sky. Another piece is made entirely of negative space. The absence itself becomes the art. As the days pass, I realize I'm no longer creating about them. I'm creating beyond them. Mara visits weekly, offering feedback and quiet encouragement. You're building a language, she says once. One only you could speak. Sometimes, in the stillness of the studio, I think about my family. What they'd say if they saw this. They wouldn't understand it. And for the first time, that thought doesn't sting. When the exhibit date is announced, I send only one invitation, to Aaron. He helps me hang the final pieces the night before the opening. The space glows under the soft lights. Shadows play gently on the floor. Clara, he says, stepping back, this is something else. I look at the walls, my story, wordless and complete. Do you think they'll get it? I ask. He shakes his head. It's not about them getting it. It's about you not needing them to. Opening night arrives like quiet thunder. The gallery fills slowly. Strangers, colleagues, a few familiar faces from old projects. There's polite conversation, the soft hum of music, glasses clinking. I stand by the far wall watching. People linger at the spiral, the one that started it all. Some tilt their heads, some whisper to each other. One woman touches her chest as if she feels it physically. Mara joins me. You've done it, she says softly. I smile, a calm inward kind of smile. I think I have. Later, after the crowd thins, I step outside. The city lights shimmer on the wet pavement. My reflection flickers in the glass door, not smaller or diminished, but whole. My phone vibrates once in my pocket. I don't look. Some messages can wait forever. I breathe in the cool air, steady and full. This stillness, this clarity, is what freedom sounds like.